guys.
Hey guys. It's okay, you can say hi. I'm here in Hollywood, California with my sister Emily.
Hi.
And we have a story for you. And this actually happened a year ago, but it's perfect timing because it happened a year ago this week.
Yeah, crazy. Literally in 2 days, it'll be 1 whole year exactly.
Yeah, so this is really timely. It's a really crazy topic if this is new to you, like it was to us. We fell into this in real life, and it's about cursed objects. And we actually, we were just at that time learning that there were actually like demonic spirits around, and learning that by actually seeing them, and then...
Yes, with sleep paralysis.
Yes.
Basically.
So talk about where you were living at the time.
So I was living in the Hollywood Tower, which is notoriously a haunted building. It's been around for about 100 years, and near the end of me living there, I started getting really crazy sleep paralysis. And at first I wanted to just blame it on the fact that I was living in like a haunted apartment, but then I realized that there was like a lot more to it than just that. It was just a spiritual battle that I was dealing with myself.
Right.
And it just happened to be in that apartment. But
yeah, so you said when you opened your eyes at night, you would see like 20
it felt
dark
like
figures around you.
The best way I could describe it was Lord of the Rings, when he would put the ring on his finger and then all of those like just dark
ring wraiths.
Yeah, I forgot what they were called, but they would just like stand around him and you can't move and you're just kind of like sitting there and they're just kind of like looking at you, and they would be calling out my name, or there'd be like rats crawling up and down me and I could just see it all, but I couldn't move at all. And it was the scariest thing, to the point where I wouldn't even want to go to bed at night. I'd be so terrified to fall asleep. And it would happen every single night for a few months.
Yeah, and then I was experiencing the same thing, but across the country. So we were both being introduced to this spiritual warfare in a new way. And it goes back to Ephesians 6, which says that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Okay, so that specifically relates to... let me just say that this is really about how sometimes demonic spirits will be associated with an object. Like, this is in the Bible, and we had some of these types of objects in our homes that brought the evil spirits into our house. And even though we're Christians and like we were just not aware.
Yeah, I felt like if I wasn't worshiping it, you know, there wasn't really a problem with having it, kind of. I was like, oh, that's just a thing. That's not like, I don't put that above God. I didn't think that there could possibly be any demonic forces attached to it.
Right.
That never crossed my mind, being a Christian my whole life.
Yeah. So, and I would read like about the 10 Commandments. Like God specifically says, don't have any other gods before me, and don't make unto thee a graven image of any likeness that's in heaven above, on the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. Don't bow down and worship it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't bow down and worship any of these things. But he also says in Deuteronomy, and this is really crazy because I never thought that anything in Deuteronomy really applied to our modern life.
Yeah.
But then this is what it says. He was warning them about the foreign gods, the false gods, which are foreign to Israel, the God of Israel, which is God. And people would carve these figures out of wood with eyes and mouth and ears, but they would invoke a demonic spirit to it. And these demonic spirits were presenting themselves as gods. And you see all throughout history, all of these gods, but people would have a spiritual, supernatural encounter with these gods and tell the other people about it. And so they're actually demons trying to capture the hearts of man and pull them away from the glory of the true God. All right, so God was warning his people, don't take those idols. Don't bring them into your homes. He said, if you bring them into your home, you will be a cursed thing like the idol. All right? And we overlook that. We don't think it really is real. We don't think that like this...
Not nowadays. Yeah,
no.
You just don't put 2 and 2 together.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, a cursed object comes into your home. How did it get there?
Yes. So one of my friends, she went on a little retreat trip to Thailand, and she brought back everyone a little carved elephant, which I thought nothing of it because I went to India. I lived there for about 8 months, and I brought back my own little statues and things. But I thought I was respecting the culture. I didn't really think anything of it too much when I brought it in. But yeah, so I had a little elephant, carved out elephant, that I left on my dresser for a while.
And then the tusk was important.
And it had 2 little tusks that it went in. And that's when, it was right around, I probably had it for maybe a month when all of this was happening.
Okay.
And you were explaining to me about all the idols and everything. And I was like, well, I don't really have any idols in my house. And then that one little elephant that I had kind of stood out to me. And this was during the time that I was moving out of the Hollywood Towers into this new apartment that I'm at now. And so I brought that elephant with me here. And
okay, so the elephant has a specific feature to it. And when she gave it to you, she said she took this loose tusk.
Yes.
And she said the tradition is that you take the tusk and stick it into the tusk holder on the elephant, and then you get 7 years.
Good luck.
Good luck.
For the person who put the tusks in.
Right. So now she's got this demonic good luck on her.
Yes, exactly.
Now we have to relate to what was happening during that time period. So we decided not to say the roommate's name because it's just not fair to her, and we want to be respectful of her. You know, she's going through a lot of darkness during this time period and probably still is currently. And you can see it in the physical of like the heroin addiction and other hard drugs, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't have a job, and she was in the house, and just a lot of darkness in that area. And that was Emily's roommate. So when Emily decided to leave, it was in the middle of the lease period, but the way it worked out was that if the other girl would sign her name on the lease, Emily can go. And Emily had replaced 2 people.
Four.
Oh my God. So Emily put
4 people.
There are other people to pay.
Yes.
And so
she just didn't want to let me go.
All right. So that was like an example of, she had this position where she realized, oh, I have this power. Mm-hmm. And if I just don't do the right thing, if I just don't sign the lease, Emily will suffer.
Yeah.
And it was really upsetting and despairing, because why is she trying to make Emily suffer? This doesn't make any sense, really. There was a lot of that those were just really dark times. You used to call me on the phone and we would just try to talk through it, like, how do we make her sign a lease? You can't make somebody forcefully sign their name on it, and she was just refusing to do it and just dragging this along. So for 4 months, I think it was, Emily was having to pay 2 rents in Los Angeles. So her bank account is getting drained.
Yes.
And when Emily was telling me this stuff, it was like a hopeless situation, because the lease wasn't going to run out for another 3 months. Emily was not going to have enough money to pay for 2 places until then.
Yeah.
So we had to say, what is really happening? How do we face the situation? And that's when Ephesians 6 kept coming back. Our battle is not against flesh and blood. It's not against the roommate. It's against spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And Emily's eyes were open to see the spiritual forces of evil in that apartment and that were in her life. There was a lot of them, right? Mm-hmm. And so we knew that because Emily at the time was really trying to pursue God, they are going to say, we're not having this, and they're going to be attacking her. And so using her roommate to just have this conviction not to sign the lease, we were feeling like seeing this with spiritual eyes was really an attack on Emily spiritually.
Yes.
And so we're having to ask God, how do we get out of this? What does your word say? Our weapons of warfare are not carnal, but mighty to the pulling down of strongholds. And that's when he led us into, we thought it was a totally separate issue, the demonic spirits being attached to these idols.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the moment that we've been waiting for.
Well, so you were at Mom and Dad's house, going through the house, cleaning it out, and I was trying to clean out my house, and then I found the elephant. And I remember calling you, and I was like, well, my friend gave this to me, and I don't want to be disrespectful, and I to my friend, it was hard for me to let this thing go, just because of who gave it to me, and I don't know, I just felt bad.
Yeah.
But I decided to just go with my gut and try and follow God, and I ended up taking the elephant, and Chelsea was like, you need to destroy it. I'm like, okay, well, how can I destroy it? I go out onto my balcony and I just throw it onto the ground. and it just goes onto the ground, and I think the elephant, the nose part like broke off, and it's just sitting there on the ground, and I just wait a few seconds, and I'm just like,
And then that guilt came over you.
it did. Wow, you remember very well.
Because sometimes that will happen when you're trying to follow God, but the spirit of the enemy is going to try a spirit of the enemy. So there are like tons of them all over the place, and it was trying to suddenly put guilt on her, like she had done something bad.
Yep, I do remember feeling bad, and I waited for a second, and then when I went down to go pick it up, the tusk was perfectly shoved in there. It flung out so quick, it hit the side of the wall and then just jumped over the balcony somehow.
Yeah, so it like bounced off the
It
sliding
felt
glass.
like the demonic spirit that was in it was leaving.
So Emily, she actually wasn't on the phone with me at that moment. She calls me immediately, and I pick up the phone. She's like, Chelsea, something just happened. And she explains that to me and how it was just sitting on the ground. And then as she goes to pick it up, that's when it suddenly snaps and flings at her and bounces off the wall.
Oh, what was crazier was it was the tusk that was shoved in. It was half the tusk broke off, so it wasn't even like it popped out or anything. It was
Okay.
It was a clean cut. Couldn't have happened any other way. It just.
And was it the loose piece that flung at you?
It
or
wasn't
was
really
it
the loose. It was like
a-
it was in there, and it was half the tusk that broke off.
Okay, so
it
that
was
piece
more,
snapped out.
Yeah, it was very.
You guys,
It was
do you
hard to
see?
explain.
Do you see the reality of this? That thing sitting in her house looked like just a harmless object. Not just harmless, but like if you wanted to believe good luck. And she didn't believe that, so she really thought it was just a harmless, inanimate object. So this is what happens. Because that broke, it was like a symbol of a curse being broken. So when she told me this on the phone, that's when I have this like epiphany, which I use the word epiphany, but really it's like this knowing from the Holy Spirit that was a symbolization of a curse being broken, and this demonic spirit left in anger. You know, it had been found out. I had this really, really strong, urgent feeling, and I told her with so much joy, Emily, for 4 months, you've been wanting this person to sign the lease. She is going to sign it within 24 hours. You don't even have to reach out to her or prompt her. This curse is broken, and she is going to sign that lease. And then, in reality, 24 hours within it.
Yes, the next morning I woke up and immediately had an email from the building saying that she
just signed it.
my name off the lease, and that was it. I was relieved from that.
The curse was lifted. And it's funny because I overlooked the word curse in the Bible all the time. It's like, I don't really know what it's talking about, or like applying it in it sounds superstitious kind of stuff. We talk about blessing, like we believe God blesses us, and we love that term in our culture. The Bible uses that term about 300 and something times, and the word curse appears over 600 times. Like double, exactly. So it just shows that there's a reality of this, and go look around at your house.
Yeah, see what's in there. You'd be surprised.
And destroy it or like get rid of it. Traditionally, like in scripture, it was burned. It's not always like something that you can do. Like Emily couldn't just burn it on the balcony in Los Angeles because she broke it. She destroyed it.
Yes, and then other things I had, I like cut up or broke or just threw in the trash the best I could.
Yeah, I'll show a picture of some of the things. Like these items were at my parents' house, and you can kind of see like some really obvious stuff there. And then
some of the stuff is not so obvious.
Right.
Like
things that are related to supernatural, spiritual. If it's not God, if it's not Jesus Christ, then it's some other supernatural thing posing as a powerful deity. That all of those things are demonic spirits taking us away from the glory of God. So a lot of the like new age spiritualism right now is just another reincarnation of demonic spirits saying, look at the supernatural world, and we are a a power and a deity and a God. And so that's just what we learned in real life that we wanted to share with you guys.
yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to say?
I think that's it on that topic. I mean, we have a lot of stories, but
So many stories, but
that's
they're
the
going
best
to
way
be
to start it off.
one video at a time.
Yes.
And share them with you guys. Thank you for watching.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.